All right, this week's thinking map is a bubble map. And what you're doing is you're going to describe how the Declaration of Independence was drafted. Now, as you go through the reading, I want you to make sure that you are thinking about certain things. Like, number one, who drafted it? Who helped to draft it? What were the parts of the Declaration of Independence? What did they include in the Declaration of Independence, and what did they leave out? Who else influenced Thomas Jefferson to draft the Declaration of Independence? How did he write it? Was it an argument? Was it a love letter? Okay, so it's kind of like so you're going to describe these things and put them into your thinking map. Now you have a copy of this thinking map over in OneNote, of course, and then you would have to print it up and download it as a PDF or print it as a PDF, or you know that you can put this on a sheet of paper and take a picture of it. Now, we're still answering the question, why did the colonists decide to break from Britain? Okay, chapter 5, section 4.4. So we're still looking, this is the last lesson from chapter 5 that'll help you completely answer this if I asked you to write it in a constructive response. Now, don't forget to read this, okay? Preview the text. Look at the main idea. Look at the questions down at the bottom so you know what to focus on, okay? And do an 80-20 reading, which means you scan through the topics, okay? Look at the pictures and get the information that you need. So I've already read the essential, or excuse me, yeah, the question for the thinking map. All right, so you know what to focus on. So before you do anything else, once you go over to Nat Geo, you're going to click on lesson 4.4, drafting the declaration. Okay, you're going to click on that and it's going to take you here. Now remember, to listen to the audio. Okay, when you read it, all of us, read differently. There's nothing wrong with that. Some take longer, some can get through it fairly quickly. But the audio book is kind of like an equalizer. So I encourage you to listen to it and read it at the same time. That way you can get a general understanding of what's going on. Now, don't forget to highlight the main idea. Okay, in 1776, um, the Continental Congress formally declared independence of the United States of America from Great Britain. That's what this is about. The things I want to see on your bubble map, excuse me, would include things like Richard Henry Lee. You saw him in some of the questions. You saw him in the reading check. Okay. What part did he play in drafting the Declaration of Independence? Thomas Jefferson, okay, is the one who wrote it. So I should see that included in there on your thinking map. What role did John Adams and Benjamin Franklin play in writing or help to write the Declaration of Independence? And then when you get down here, include some of the ideas that were expressed in the Declaration of Independence, right? These self evident truths, okay? Um, Unalienable rights, include that. Include a description in your own words, of course, all right? Talk about the first draft, the difference between the first draft and the final draft. In the first draft, Jefferson had mentioned slavery in Declaration of Independence, but he decided to take it out. And one of the reasons, just to give you some background on that, one of the reasons he did that, because it was on the minds of the founders. They can't sit there and say that all men are created equal and they're holding, slaves. But slavery was a legal practice back then. And Thomas Jefferson knew he had to get 100% consensus agreement in order for all of the United States to agree. So if he put that in, it would have probably turned some people off because people in the South were practicing and using slavery. Okay, so he decided to take it out, but include that. Who else did he leave out? Okay, it talks about that here. So I think that, oh, and then here's the second part of the declaration. So there's a first part and a second part, or excuse me, he said in his first draft. But also, include a description of how the Declaration of Independence is broken up into parts. This talks about the second part. Okay, you probably have to go back up to the top to talk about the first part. All right, and I think I already mentioned where he got some of his ideas from. All right, so that concludes this quick little lecture on what to do here. Okay, we have our frame of reference question. You can find a copy of this over in OneNote, or you can do it on a sheet of paper. Now, if all else fails, okay, please take advantage of the My Tutor app over in ClassLink. Okay, the tutors over at Paper will help you. Now, don't just go over there asking for, answers to the question. All right. Some of the things you may want to ask help for specifically are, can you take a look at my facts? Okay. Can you take a look at my descriptions? Can you proofread it for me and make sure that it makes sense? Okay. Make sure you're using your textbook. Now, I don't know if you can just take a screenshot of your textbook and show it to the tutor, but that would be great. Read the directions to the tutor. That's another thing that you can do. Okay, but be specific. All right, having a tutor is great. All right, if I had a tutor in 8th grade, man, my grades would have been so much better. All right, so if you have any questions, make sure you reach out to me.